Hi, come on over. I'm Joe Hedzicki of Revolution Kites. I just want to congratulate you on the purchase of the Revolution Super Blast. I've got to tell you, I love this kite. And when we get done with this video, you're going to love it as much as me. This kite has it all. It's totally awesome. It flies fast, it's got incredible power, it has unbelievable light wind flying characteristics, and of course it has all the Revolution controllability that all the line of kites have. Something that's very important for you to do is actually fly the kite that's on the screen. I don't want you to try to learn it by listening. I want you to learn it by actually doing. This is the best way to learn how to fly the kite. Let's get the kite set up and take it for a flight. Before we set up the kite, let's talk about the leading edge. The structure in the leading edge is composed of these three shafts. Two of the shafts come with ferrules, one doesn't. It's critical that when you fit the leading edge together, this ferrule is completely inserted into the other shaft. If you insert only part way and fly the kite partly assembled, it will snap the leading edge. The first time you assemble the kite, you might want to take the complete leading edge out of the kite, pre-assemble it so that you know it is properly fitted, and then insert it into the kite. Let's set the kite up. Remove your kite from the bag. Be careful with the leading edge and all the graphite structure because it can easily puncture the sail. Roll the kite open. Remove the 4 down struts. Open the kite up. And fit the leading edge. Carefully line it up. Make sure that it's fully inserted. The end cap is put on with a shock cord. Stretch it, put it inside the shaft. Insert the other leading edge, line it up, make sure it's fully inserted. A trick I use on the second side is to stretch the sail on with my shoe. Makes it easier to put the cap on. Turn the kite over. Keep the leading edge into the wind. Now we'll put the back struts on. There's 4 struts, 2 short and 2 long. The short strut goes to the outside of the wing. The long strut goes to the inside of the wing. The struts go on the back of the kite. You can tell the back of the kite because the front of the kite has the logo on it. Put the cap on into the leading edge cap. It's very important to put the shock cord over the shaft. This keeps the shock cord from tearing through the kite. Then the shaft fits inside the cap. Same on the center one. Strut cap in. Shock cord over the shaft. Cap over the shaft. Long strut to the inside. Cap in. Shock cord over the shaft. Cap on. Final one. Cap on. Shock cord over. Cap on. Let's take a quick look at what the kite actually is. There's a curvature in the sail. This curvature is held by this shock cord on the end. The shock cord goes from the front of the kite over the leading edge to the back of the kite. You want an actual positive curve toward the front of the kite. It's kind of opposite of what you might expect for an airfoil, but this is what gives the kite the float characteristics. Lay the kite down. Let's get our line set up. To set up your line sets, stake your lines, pull out your lines, pull out your handles. A word about the handles. The handles are stainless steel, graphite wrapped. The top of the handle is the short side of the handle. The bottom of the handle is the long side of the handle. Unwind your line sets. Do this carefully and slowly. You don't want any twists. Give yourself about 2 feet of line You should notice two pairs, a black and a white, a black and a white. Let's deal with one pair at a time. Separate the lines. We're going to connect the line using what's called a lark's head. Stick your fingers through the line, flip them over, pinch them together. Roll the line off without letting go. That's our connecting loop. The white goes to the top of the handle. Put your knot through, cinch it down, slide it on. The black is the bottom. You can remember that because B is black, B is bottom. Fingers through, fold it over, pinch it. You have your connecting loop. Put the knot through the loop, cinch it down, slide it to the end. Let's do the same for the other handle. White is on top, like the clouds. Pinch, fold it over, slide it on. Black, bottom. Hook your handles over your stake. Now very carefully unwind your lines. This is where a lot of problems happen. People pull tight or they unwind fast and cause tangles to happen. Take your time here. An extra minute here will save you 20 minutes worth of tangles. Hold them and walk them out. Take your time. Don't worry about any tangles at this point. We'll get them out at the end. As we come up to the end of the line sets, we should notice again that we have two pairs. Black and white, black and white. Put your winder in your pocket so you don't lose it. Take these two pairs and spread them apart as wide as you can. Don't worry about tangles at this point. We're going to set the kite up and hook up to the lines. With the tension of the kite on the lines, it's much easier to untangle the kite. Set your lines down. Turn your kite face up. The top of the kite, the leading edge of the kite, has a red leader on it. That's where we connect our top line. Our top line is the white line. Lark's head again. Slide it on, down to the knot. Black is the bottom. Lark's head. Onto the loop, cinch it on. Once again, do pair by pair. Don't get them mixed up. Don't take all four pairs apart and start putting them together. Do one pair at a time. Move to the other pair. Separate the pair. White's on top, lark's head, red bridle line, make sure it's clear, lark's head, black for bottom, lark's head, let's take a quick look at the bridle. The bottom bridle is a V bridle coming in from the two lower strut points. It's got a single knot connecting them here, and then your lark's head knot is connected at the end. The top bridle on each side of the kite has three legs to it. The outside wingtip, the center point, which is connected with the lark's head, and the red leader, which is the main power line. This point of the power line is connected using a lark's head. The two black bridle legs come together, lark's head onto the line, and then slide back to the second knot. We have our lark's head connecting knot, and then we have the second knot. If they come apart, this is how you reattach them. Let's set the kite up and get it ready for flying. You want to control the leading edge whenever you're handling the kite. Keep the leading edge into the wind. Let's turn the kite over, leading edge into the wind. Get behind the kite, controlling that leading edge. Tension the lines, set the kite down. If the kite is tilted slightly forward, it will self-launch. Make sure that these tips are pushed underneath. That keeps the download down on the kite and keeps it from self-launching. Before we launch, check one last time to make sure none of your bridle lines are tangled in any way. Sometimes they get wrapped around a cap. This tends to give you a turn when the kite's flying. Check the end cap, make sure it's not wrapped around. And check the strut caps, make sure it's not wrapped around. Along with this forming a turning action, this bridle could actually cut through the sail. Make sure it's all clear. Kite's down, kicked in, and we're ready to launch the kite. We're going to do an actual lesson very similar to what we do in the field when we're teaching someone how to fly the kite. This is my brother Dave. He's going to handle the kite, and I'm going to do the lesson. The key is not to have any tension on the kite, not to actually fly the kite while you're learning. The power tends to distract you from what you need to focus on. To start out with, hold one handle, as I do, very loosely, almost hanging on one finger. The key here is you don't want a stiff grip on it. A lot of people grab the kite and grip tightly, and this tends to give the kite a reverse control. You have to be relaxed. Even if the kite's pulling on you, try to be relaxed. To turn the kite, you squeeze the handle into the palm, pushing your thumb forward, and then relax. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Take this one, do the same thing, and now I'm going to get in front and actually fly the kite for you. We'll pretend the hands are actually the wings of the kite. What I want you to do is have that nice relaxed grip that keeps the kite flying in a forward direction. Show me a turn on this side. Perfect. Show me a turn on this side. Good. Thumb pushes forward. Thumb pushes forward. The rest of the time you have a very relaxed grip. With the handles back in this position, the kite flies up. We want to stay here because this is the center of the wind window. The question is, when the kite moves off, which way do you turn the kite? As the kite flies off to the side, you turn the wing that is high. This is the high wing. Good. As it responds, relax the grip and go back to the normal flying position. Now we're moving off the window over here. Which one do we turn? High wing. Turns across. Always turn the wing that is high. Good. Which wing? Which wing? Good. When the kite's steady overhead, you don't have to do anything. Relax. In fact, you should be in this basic flying position 99% of the time. Only instantaneously do you actually turn the kite. If you squeeze both handles, thumbs forward very subtly, the kite will begin to back down. And in fact, you can hover it in position. If you continue to back down, you can back down and land it. With the thumbs back, the kite will launch back off again. All right, now respond. Which wing? Good. Which wing? Good. Which wing? Good. Which wing? Good. You have actually quite a bit of time before it actually hits the ground to think about it. Remember, thumbs back all the time. Turn, release. Turn, release. Turn, release. A lot of people turn and grip it and never let go again. Relax the handles. Okay, let's take the kite up and give it a flight. On the takeoff, there's a couple other things we want to be aware of. Looking down the lines, you can see 3 lines are tight, 1 is loose. To tighten that line, step back until all 4 lines are tight. Now we bring our thumbs back, accelerate it into the air for that target. Let's get it up at least 20 feet, straight up in the air. Ready? Launch. Another problem that a lot of people have is they're off wind. If you're off to the edge of the wind and you launch the kite, it tends to turn back into the wind. This won't give you a straight up launch. Make sure that you are downwind. Second problem is it's hard to tell how hard I'm actually pulling this kite. I'm pulling it pretty hard. Shoot for your target and make it hit the target. Don't just say, I'm just going to pull the kite. Accelerate the kite to that 20 feet. Thumbs back. All 4 lines are tight. If they're not tight, step back and tighten them. Thumbs back, accelerate. Okay, here's the test. There's the kite, here's the handles. Which wing do we control? The left wing is on top. Push the left thumb forward. Which wing do we control? Right wing is on top. Right wing, right thumb forward. Which one? Left. Which one? Right. Which one? Right. Which one? Left. A lot of people have the basic concept down, but what they do is they over control. For example, we need a left turn here. Watch this. Left. Too much of a left turn. Here we are again. We need a left turn. Here we are again. Left turn. Too much of a left turn. Remember, if you hold the turn down, you'll end up with a spin. Here we go. Left turn, spin. Let's do a light turn. Right, left thumb, right thumb, left thumb, right thumb. Your Revolution Super Blast comes complete with a set of flying instructions. These instructions show basic to advanced flying techniques. Some of them are pretty easy to do, and some of them are a little bit more complicated. You can't expect to get them all the first time. We're going to spend a few minutes going over the high points of all these techniques. There are 6 basic flight characteristics of the Revolution kites. Let's take a look at those and then incorporate them into the techniques. The first one is forward flight. The second one is reverse flight. The third one is turns. Left turns, right turns. These turns expand into a spin. The fourth one is stopping and hovering. You can hover in any direction, sideways, upside down, right side up. The final one is speed control. You can fly your Revolution at any speed, slow, fast, and backwards, slow or fast. Now let's incorporate those into the 19 techniques. The first skill is forward and reverse flight straight up. Thumbs back, lines tight. Launch the kite, shoot for the target. Stop it, back it down by applying thumb pressure. Try to keep it smooth and steady as it comes down and keep it level. Land it. Practice this over and over again. It's a critical move. Thumbs back, launch. Stop it, back it down. Slowly, levelly, land it. Launch, hover, land. The second skill is the sideways flying. Fly to the left, fly to the right. This is the perfect time to practice your pulling on the high wing to keep it flying level. As it moves off to the edge of the window, pull back a little bit to keep it moving. Fly across, fly across, fly across. At first, use a small window. As you get practice a little bit longer, move wider on the window. Try to keep the kite flying level and adjust the speed on it. The third skill is the horizontal reverse flight. The best way to practice this is to start straight up and back down, which we've already done. Now pick a slight angle and try to draw a reverse line across a slight diagonal angle. Keep going into steeper and steeper angles, trying to maintain a level angle on the kite. Finally, fly out to the edge and fly backwards straight across. It helps to lead with the top wing. That'll keep you from reversing under. Lead with the top wing a little bit and then reverse both handles. The other way to practice is fly out to the edge of the window. Then pull back on that top wing to keep it up. Then slowly reverse it back into the window. Lead with that top wing. Otherwise the kite tends to scoop under with the bottom wing. Lead with that top wing. The basic reverse launch. The first thing you want to do is check to see which lines are on top. The lines that are on top, that's the wing you want to reverse. Push that thumb forward, all the way down. Put the other wing slightly in reverse. Now step back and pull the handles past your hips. Slowly and smoothly. It'll roll the kite over. Let's do that one again. Top wing, the lines that are on top. Reverse that handle. Reverse the other one slightly. Pull the handle slowly past your hips. If there's enough wind, it'll just reverse all by itself. But if you need a little more, thumb forward, give a little speed past your hips and a smooth pull. The fifth skill is the fly and slide. As the kite flies across the window, you want to pull back on the top wing, causing the wing to rise. Pull on the bottom wing, cause it to drop. Turn the kite over, fly to the other side. Pull back a little on the top wing as it flies across. Fly back across. Pull back on the top wing, pull in on the bottom wing. Pull back on the top wing, pull in on the bottom wing. Pull back on the top wing. See how it's sliding? This is a slide maneuver. The tricky thing about this is that we're both flying forward at the same time that we're sliding the kite sideways. So there's multiple controls going on here. The trick, or the goal, is to keep the kite in a nice level direction even as it's sliding. What most people do is they over-control when they're correcting for that angle. As the kite flies across and turns up, if there's a little turn to it, they over-control the turn and you start to get a pitching motion in the kite. Try to hold it level, fly it out to the end. Turn it over and fly it back. Pull, pull, pull up, pull down. Skill 6 is the full spin. Take the kite up into the window so you got plenty of wind on it. Give it a sharp turn in one direction and let off the turn as it goes 3/4 of the way through the turn. Left turn, left thumb forward, let off. Correct. Right thumb, right turn. Thumb, release. What you want to do is you want to release the kite from the turn as it goes through the 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock position. Turning counterclockwise as it rises into the 3 o'clock position, let off in the turn because its momentum will carry it around. When you spin the kite in the other direction, let off in the turn about 9 o'clock, its momentum will carry it around. Lots of times what you need to do on these spins is to counter the spin afterwards to stop it from overspinning. So here we go, right spin, and a left just to stop it from spinning. Left spin, right just to stop it from spinning. Practice this and try to get the timing correct. Try to stop it at the straight up position, right spin, counter. Then practice multiple spins. Left spin, stop, correct. Right spin, stop, and correct. Then practice spins from sideways positions. From the side, spin, and then correct. Spin left, and correct. Skill number 7 is the inverted hover. The key to this skill is not to really try to understand how it works, feel how it works. With the kite in the upside down position, rotate both thumbs forward. Pull back slowly, causing the kite to rise off in reverse. You want to rise off a few feet and try to hover it. You'll have to correct the wings as it's in the air to keep it from rolling over one way or the other. The best way to do this is just by feeling it. Rise it up into the air and try to hold the hover. Take it back down again. Rise it up into the air, hold it, balance it, and then let it come down again. This takes a little bit of practice, but after 10 minutes of this, you'll be twice as good, if not 10 times as good. Thumbs forward, reverse it up, feel the balance, correct the wings. Let it settle back down again. Skill 8 is the advanced reverse launch. This has both the components of the basic launch, reverse launch, and the reverse hover in it. We're going to rotate both thumbs forward, which will cause the kite to rise off in reverse. At this point, what you need to do is rotate the kite over and fly it up. A move that causes that to happen is both thumbs forward, reverses it off the ground. When it's off the ground and hovering upside down, we need to turn it over. The way to turn it over is to let one of the handles out, then to let the other handle out. I like to call this a quick draw move. So what you do is thumbs forward, pull them down to your hips, reverse launch, then left thumb out, right thumb out. The trick here is the timing. Reverse, slide it back, left thumb, right thumb. And it's flying. Skill 9 is a tip landing. It's very similar to the side flying and sliding. As you fly the kite across, hover it by pulling back on the top wing, then slowly bring in the bottom wing till it slides down, tip lands. The trick here is the balance. When it's hovering, you're both balancing it in sideways flight, pulling back to make it fly up, but not too much. At the same time, you're not flying it forward and you're not flying it backwards. You're balancing in that position. Find that balance point, practice the hover, then slide it down slowly onto a tip landing. Skill number 10, horizontal reverse. Fly the kite up to about 20 feet, turn it, fly out to the edge of the window. You got to balance it here with a sliding motion to keep it level. Then slightly apply pressure to both thumbs. Watch for the wing to kick under. Go slowly and smoothly at first. Lead a little with the top wing, helps. Take it as far out of the window as you can. Skill number 11 are facet turns. Fly the kite up into the window, hover it, face up. Rotate it 90 degrees and hover it sideways. This should feel comfortable. This is basically the side sliding motion right here. Feel that balance point. Now, turn it 90 degrees further, you're in the upside down hover. Again, this should be somewhat familiar from your reverse hover off the ground. Now, turn it again, facing to the left. Hold it. Again, you got to balance by sliding. Top wing, bottom wing. Then, finish the turn with 90 degrees more. Skill number 12 is the snap turn. Fly it up into the window, hover it. Sharply turn the kite and stop it. Sharply turn the kite, stop it. Sharply turn the kite, stop it. These moves are all timing and counter turns. Lots of times a left turn is followed by a right to stop it and correct it. Spin, spin, stop. Spin, stop. Quick turn, stop. Quick turn, stop. To get the actual rotation point, it just takes practice. Over control is the usual problem. Skill number 13 is called the slide turn. This is critical for the Super Blast since power flying and turning the kite should be a sliding turn as opposed to a rotation turn. Fly the kite up. As it's flying through a turn, pull the turn. That'll give you a much larger radius. As you're pulling the turn, rotate the wrist slightly. That'll increase the radius to a tighter turn until it turns into a spin. On the Super Blast, the slide turn is really the key to maintaining power. Slide the turn as opposed to rotating the turn. Rotation of a turn, especially while you're flying in power, is a great way to kill the power. If flying too powerfully, just do a sharp turn on it. It'll kill the power. Skill 14, the instant stop. To stop the kite instantly, throw both thumbs forward. This is actually the reverse mode, but before the kite can fly in reverse, it has to stop. You can fly the kite and stop it sideways. You can stop the kite straight up, or you can do the most famous of all, the dive stop. The trick with the dive stop is practice at high altitude. You don't need to bang your kite into the ground. Practice higher and stop higher. Skill 15 is reverse flight up. This is one of the most advanced skills for a couple reasons. First of all, reverse flight is a sensitive move. Second of all, upside down is difficult. Left becomes right, right becomes left, up is down, down is up. Thumbs forward, go up smoothly and evenly. Try to balance the kite. If you have problems, settle it back down and start over again. The Speed Series are excellent at reverse flight. Skill 16 is the horizontal slide. You can slide the kite horizontally both face up and inverted. The inverted slide is actually aerodynamically easier to do, but in your mind it's much easier to do the face up horizontal slide. Practice them both. Practice them at first in the middle of the window. An easy way to practice the upside down inverted horizontal slide is off to the edge of the wind, reverse the wing under, and then pull back as it slides across. It helps sometimes to lead slightly with that lead wing, lift it up a little bit. There's the left wing up. There's the right wing up. Go slowly and try to balance it. It's more of a feel thing than an actual understanding of what's going on. Skill 17 is the slow motion spin. This is one of my favorite skills. It's very closely related to facet turns. Take the kite up and hover it. Turn to the right, hover. Invert, hover. Turn to the left, hover. Face up, hover. Now do the same move and start to run the facets together. Straight up, right, upside down, left, straight up. Alan Nagao showed me this move about 10 years ago, and I couldn't understand how to do it until he explained that it's actually just components of the same move. The key is don't try to think of a continuous move because you get lost in the position where the kite is. Think of it in terms of the 4 positions of the facet turn. Right face, upside down, left face, straight up. Right face, upside down, left face, straight up. To the side, upside down, to the side, straight up. Practice makes perfect. This is an awesome skill to have and it works excellent in high winds. Skill 18 is the spin and climb. This is a great move to have if you're doing low to the ground spins. If you just let the kite spin normally by rotating the wrists, as it spins it will drop and lose altitude. You can actually spin the kite and maintain altitude or actually climb as it spins. The trick to this is to pump the wing as it is in the climbing position. So let's say our kite is going to spin to the right. As this wing comes up into the climb position, give it a tug on the left wing. Spins across, tug, 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 tug. If your timing is correct, the kite will climb as it spins. As you get good at this skill, you can actually cause the kite to move in any direction you want by pulling in that direction when the wing moves there. As the kite moves across, if you pull, it'll move across, it'll move up, it'll move down. I've actually seen people spin and move in circles during the spin. A more advanced component of this is to spin both wings. It ends up being a pumping action where as the forward wing is climbing, you pump that wing. And the reverse wing is climbing, you pump that wing in reverse. Forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse. When you see someone doing this move, you'll just see a pumping action. That's what they're doing. This move is critically dependent on timing. You have to spin and tug right at the climbing phase. Pull. Right wing, pull. Right wing, pull. Practice makes perfect. Skill number 19 is the float. The reason why the skill ranks in 19 is because it's a very difficult move for the standard revolution. We've already covered extensively in the light wind flying, but here's a neat aspect of it. Take it overhead, let it fall out. It tends to just float back into the window and relaunch. Overhead. When the lines are slack, it's a perfect float. One of the great things about the kite is its light wind flying. We're in winds of about 1 to 2 miles an hour. The kite flies so fast that you can quickly gain altitude. Shoot it up overhead. To regain any lost ground, you just turn it and float it away. The kite just goes slack and glides out. Anytime you need some wind for some power, just step back to accelerate the kite. It only needs a couple miles an hour worth of wind to accelerate. Float it across. When you get to the end, reverse that bottom wing, pull it under, and float it across. Accelerate it by stepping back. For example, a dive stop. You walk forward to regain the ground. Dive, and when you stop it, step back to generate enough resistance so you can stop the hover. Take it out to the edge of the wind and accelerate it by walking back. Shoot it up overhead and float it back out again. You can basically fly this kite indoors because by just walking back at 2 miles an hour, you have plenty of airspeed to fly the kite. Let's talk about power. Power is really the heart of this kite. You need access to that power whenever you're flying, light conditions or high conditions. Without power, you cannot power kite. The key to the power lock is very precise, subtle controls of these handles. Most people do the correct control, they just over-control, they do too much. And to lock into the power of this is a very precise position. For example, launching the kite might be flying forward like this. Rocking the handles to this position might be the power. Locking to this position might be out of the power again. It's a very subtle amount of rotation, and that's what you need to pay attention to when you start out. To lock into that power, fly your kite. As it flies across to the side, adjust your angles until you feel that power come on. If you go a little bit further, the kite will go into a flutter. Find that position, rotating your wrists, and once it locks into position, you'll feel the pull. Then lock your angles of your wrists down and just turn, mostly by a pulling action. Pulling, pulling. Our goal is to be locked into the power and then go through a turn. If you can maintain power through turns, you have the basics of this kite down. All right, here comes the tricky part. This kite is both extremely powerful and extremely efficient. The problem is those two ideas don't really fit together at the same time. When the kite is in power mode, the sail curves into an airfoil shape, and this is what generates the power. The problem is, as it powers up, it tends to yank you off your feet. What you need to do, and the key to controlling the power is, when you get that surge of power, move with the power while still maintaining the load. Let's say it's pulling on you at 50 pounds of force. When it yanks up to 100 and wants to lift you off your feet, move forward and settle it back down to 50. But don't jump and settle it to 0, because when the power goes to 0, the kite goes flat and all the power goes away. If you're ripping across the park on your mountain board and you keep turning the power on and off, you will not go across. You've got to maintain the power, lock into the power, and hold it there. That balance is the key to power kiting. Let's power the kite up. Launch it, rotate those thumbs back. I was in the power, but then I went too far and I went to flutter, okay? Across the window again, find that power. There it is. Try to hold it, try to hold it. Okay, it's pulling so much that I have to maintain a load on the kite. But I can't give it up because I'll lose the power. Now, if you're in a situation you don't want the power anymore, thumbs back, kills all power. But we're trying to figure out how to hold on to that power. Fly it across, lock in the power, lock the wrist angle down, and hold on. When the power's up, move with it. Okay, a great thing to practice is power up and move across the window. This is exactly what you're doing while you're mountain board. You power up and you steer the angle. When it overpowers you, drive downfield with it. When it underpowers, it's not pulling on you, then steer up. Hold your ground. Use the traction of the board to hold your ground against that pull. Our goal is to maintain a constant power through a circle or through a figure 8. If you can do that, you have the essence of the power of this kite. One of the big advantages of the Super Blast is the total control of the power. For example, we've got about 12 to 14 mile an hour winds. Launch the kite, hover it. I'm hovering in these kind of winds, basically very little load on the handles. If the power comes up, I can just dump it by bringing the thumbs back. Anytime I want to turn on the power, just slowly rotate into that power lock position. Boom, power's on. If it gets to be too much power, just bring the thumbs back. Kills the power. This is a great safety feature. The other great advantage of it is you have that control which allows you to turn the power on and off when you want it and don't want it. Step onto your board, kite's overhead, unloaded. Got plenty of time to think about it. I bring the kite down, hovering it, turn into the power and take off. Right up to the rocks, power off. Total control. Okay, let's take a ride on the buggy. The great thing about the buggy is it is extremely controllable also, so you can turn very sharply with it. That allows you to adjust your position relative to the power of the kite. Here we go, I'm hovering the kite right in the power zone, but I don't really have any power on me because I'm hovering it. As soon as I bring my thumbs back, we're gonna blast off. Ready? Go. Shoot the kite out, head upwind. The kite has phenomenal upwind performance. Let's cut the power, hover it out. The kite has incredible upwind performance because you can flatten it out. You can de-spring the kite. It kills all the resistance on the kite and you shoot straight upwind. Here we go. Downwind, crosswind, upwind. Let's try out some grass skiing. We got the same thing. I'm holding the kite dead downwind. The wind's now at about 15 miles an hour. But I'm fine as long as it's hovering. When I bring my thumbs back, it's going to power up when we're going. Ready? But I can cut the power anytime I want. The Super Blast is designed specifically to float and glide. Watch this. The ideal float is when the kite is laid out virtually flat and the lines actually go slack. This is what it looks like. Lay it out. Lines are slack. The float, relative to light when flying, the key component is to realize there's very little energy in the wind. There isn't any wind. So what you try to do with the kite is fly it in a very efficient way. The key to do that is not to fly vertically, trying to lift the weight of the kite, but to fly horizontally across the wind. This way you can fly the kite without having to lift its weight. As you launch the kite, turn the kite on its side. If you pull back on the top wing, the kite actually climbs upward. This is basically what the float is about. It generates a sideways lift that keeps the kite in the air. The ideal way to practice the float is as the kite is moving to the side, pull back on the top wing. As it moves to the left, pull back on the right wing. As it moves to the right, pull back on the left wing. You'll notice that the pulling back motion is something similar to a bow and arrow. And you'll also notice that the kite is always flying in the direction of your back. As the kite flies to the right, I'm facing to the left. As the kite flies to the left, I'm facing to the right. All right, I told you guys, you need to practice this with your hands, in motion, while you're watching the video. Don't just sit there and think about it. If you don't practice this, you won't be able to do it on the field. Practice right while you're watching me. Let's take a look at a couple problems that come up while you're floating the kite, and I'll show you some solutions to solve them. When you float the kite off to the edge of the wind, you have extremely low energy in the wind. So what you want to do out there is you want to be as efficient as possible. When you get to the edge, you don't want to turn the kite up and over the top. It takes too much energy to lift the kite. What you want to do is you want to drop the kite down and turn it around the bottom. Then you can actually use gravity to facilitate the turn and bring you back across. To do that, fly the kite across to the edge of the window, turn the bottom wing, thumb forward, and pull it through. And that'll flip the kite around. You're out to the right side, flip the right thumb through, pull it through, and float it across. Notice again, on the float, your back is in the direction the kite is flying. Reverse the bottom wing, thumb, pull it through, and float to the right. Right thumb, pull it through, float to the left. You'll also notice when I reverse it and you pull back, step back with the same foot, reverse, step back, and pull it through. The pulling motion on the float helps turn the kite below and under the bottom turn. It comes across, left hand, thumb, pull it back, and float back across. While floating, you need more than just one aspect of the control. The kite is moving sideways with the pulling motion. At the same time, you need to fly the kite forward or backwards, depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the kite. An excellent practice session is to hold the kite in a hover. When you pull back on the top wing, the kite rises up. If you pull back on the bottom, it drops down. Pull back on the top, rise up, pull on the bottom, drop it down. Find that hover point. At the same time, remember, thumbs back makes the kite fly forward. Thumbs forward make the kite fly backwards. When you're hovering and flying across, lots of times you need to do subtle adjustments in the rotation of the kite. If the kite is tilted downward toward the ground like this and it's moving across, you can either reverse the top wing to level it out, or you can let the bottom wing fly forward. You need to practice those so as the kite's moving across, you can do subtle adjustments to correct its flight path. Ways to practice that are to hover the kite and teeter it. Teeter it. Reverse the top, reverse the bottom, reverse the top, reverse the bottom. Hold it level. Pull up on the top wing, pull down on the bottom wing, teeter, reverse the bottom, reverse the top, reverse the bottom, reverse the top. These controls you'll need as the kite is floating to correct its position. Float across, floating, left hand, bottom wing, reverse, pull it through, and float across. I want you to practice this while you're watching the video. Don't just try to learn this by listening. Do it by action. It's a feeling kind of thing. You need to feel the motion. Float, reverse, pull through, float. Correct that wing a little, reverse the top a little. Float, reverse, turn, correct it a little bit, and fly across. The winds are coming up, so we don't need that much of a float, except on the edge. We use the float all the time. Then when it comes into the window, square it up and fly it. Remember guys, it's critical that you practice this at home. Don't just listen to what I'm saying, actually practice it. Move your arms, go through the motions, get a feel for it, okay? Just hearing it isn't enough to understand what's going on. Let's take a look at a couple of the problems that we're going to get exposed to. The first one we've touched on a little bit already. As the kite is floating across, it noses down. We'll look at a solution for that. The second problem is the kite, while it's floating across, generates some flutter and causes the kite to pitch down. We'll look at a solution for that too. Okay, we're taking it out to the edge, and we're floating the kite. Reverse that handle, pull it through, and get it to turn. As you can see, that leading edge is facing down. Reverse that top wing a little bit, square it up, and fly it across. When you're out on the edge, and you do that turn, that pull is critical. Pull and step back. Thumb forward, pull, step back, and that starts to float. If you don't complete that turn, the kite ends up in a downward position. Reverse the bottom wing, thumb forward, pull, let it rotate all the way around, and then float it across. Our second problem as we get out to the edge of the wind is we're floating the kite. It starts to flutter down. What you do is reverse both wings, and that inflates it, keeps it flying, levels the kite out. Turn it and fly it through. If the kite floats out too much, reverse both wings. That will reinflate the kite and get it flying again. That's the second solution. Whenever you lose control of the kite in the flutter type thing, reverse both wings and pull it back into the float. To land your kite at the end of the flight session, land it nose down. Make sure you have no line tangles. Let the kite lay back. This keeps it from relaunching. Spread your handles apart, put them down. Now disconnect your handles. Lark's head, slide it off. Lark's head, slide it off. Reconnect the pair so they don't get tangled with the other set. Now we have this one pair. Do the same with the other handle. Let's put our handles in our pockets so we don't forget them. Now to wind onto your winder, take the two individual pairs and keep them separate. Here's the trick. Put your finger in between the line sets. Now when you wind them in, they come in as one, but they've been separated on the way in, so they won't be twisted. The figure 8 winding method is the best way to do it. You go over the winder, under the winder, over the winder, under the winder. This keeps twists out. Take your time and keep the tension just moderately tight. Don't over tension them as you wind them in. If you can avoid twists now, you can save yourself a half an hour later. Keep your pairs separated again. Come down and disconnect them at the kite. Lark's head again. When you disconnect them, reconnect them back into that pair. This helps avoid tangles. Lark's head, connected. Do the same to the other side. Finish the last set and you should see that they come in 2 separate pairs. That's a good sign. Lay them over, wrap the shock cord around it to hold them in place, strap it down. Line sets are finished. Let's put the kite away. To put the kite away, pull your struts out. Careful not to puncture your sail. I like not to put the struts down because they tend to be forgotten. Disconnect the leading edge. Reach into the center. Pull it apart till it separates. You want to separate at least 2 inches so that you don't fold and cut the leading edge when you fold it up. Fold inward toward the front of the kite. Pull out the cap. Separate the leading edge by at least 2 inches. Fold it inward. This contains the bridle inside the kite. When you roll the kite up, you want to roll to maintain this curvature in the sail that we talked about earlier. As you see the tips are rolled in this way, that's the way we want to roll the kite together. Don't roll it too tight because we don't want to put any unnecessary folds into this mylar. I pull the bridle up into the kite to make sure it gets wrapped inside. And slide it into your bag. Line sets. Last thing you do is put your handles in. You're packed up and ready to go. Make sure you have a great time with your Super Blast. I sure had a great time with mine. These are some of the basic moves and techniques that you can use to learn. I don't know what you're going to learn, but you're going to learn how to fly the kite.